Now, this month is also Lupus Awareness Month. Now, lupus is a disease that occurs when your body's immune system attacks your own tissues and organs, which is also known as an autoimmune disease. Inflammation caused by lupus can affect many different body systems, including your joints, skin, kidneys, blood cells, brain, heart, and lungs. Lupus can be difficult to diagnose because its signs and symptoms often mimic those of other ailments. The most distinctive sign of lupus, a facial rash that resembles the wings of a butterfly unfolding across both cheeks, occurs in many but not all cases of lupus. Some people are born with a tendency towards developing lupus, which may be triggered by infections, certain drugs, or even sunlight. While there's no cure for lupus, treatments can help control symptoms. Signs and symptoms of lupus are joint pain, muscle pain or chest pain, especially if you're taking a deep breath, headaches, fever, hair loss, mouth sores, fatigue, which is feeling tired all the time, shortness of breath, swollen glands, swelling in your arms, legs, or on your face, confusion, and blood clots. Lupus can sometimes cause other health conditions or issues including photosensitivity, which is sensitivity to sunlight, dry eye, depression, or other mental health conditions, seizures, amnesia, osteoporosis, heart disease, kidney disease, Raynaud's syndrome, which is spasms in the small blood vessels in your fingers and toes. This limits blood flow and leads to symptoms like skin color changes, cold skin, and a pins and needles sensation. Now, anyone can develop lupus, but some groups of people have a higher risk, and that's women, especially women from the ages of 15 to 44, black people, Hispanic people, Asian people, indigenous people, Alaskan natives, First Nations people, Pacific Islanders, and people with a biological parent who has lupus. Now, I personally know someone, an old childhood friend who I used to ride the school bus with. She was diagnosed with lupus, and unfortunately she died from complications of it just over 20 years ago. And if you're watching this and you happen to be living with lupus, you happen to be a family member of someone living with lupus, or if you're even a family member of someone who's no longer with us due to complications of lupus, I love y'all. And this mystery pop-up segment is for y'all. Alright, this is a Lupus Awareness Comic Hero tee. And if you would like one, you can find them on comicheroshop.myshopify.com for $17. And I will donate half of each purchase to the Lupus Foundation of America. Alright, on my last visit to Excalibur Comics, I decided to split the comics three ways. So you're going to see some in this segment, you're going to see some in the next mystery pop-up segment, and then you're going to see them in the comic books I bought this week's segment later on. And I'm about to reveal the first sets, so here we go. First up, it's Absolute Flash number 15. Really excited about this one. Absolute Green Arrow number 1. And finally, Rogue Sun number 34. Alright, with those three, that brings the total number of comics that I bought since December of 1997 to 15,613.
pussy, folks.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Comic Hero Show. I'm your host, Victor Nunley, and I am the Comic Hero. This month is Mental Health Awareness Month. Now I'm going to touch base on that later on, but for right now, it's time to give away a free t-shirt. All right, on last week's episode, I asked, which branch of the U.S. military did Kate Kane, aka Batwoman, serve in? Well, the correct answer is Army. And 5 people have answered correctly, and because they've answered correctly, your name's been entered in a drawing for a free tee. And that drawing takes place right now. So the winner of the free tee for this week's episode of the show is John Burdick from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. So congratulations, John. You win yourself a free Comic Hero tee. All right, here's the question for next week's episode, and this is an Avengers question. In the comics, which Avenger is not a founding member? Was it A, Captain America, B, Thor, or C, Iron Man? All right, here's some hints to help. The first hint is that this character made his first appearance in his own book in 1941 and was created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. The second hint, on the front cover of his first issue, he's seen punching Adolf Hitler in the jaw. Okay, I don't even know if I should give away any more hints because a lot of folks know which superhero was infamous for, or really famous, not infamous, but famous for doing that. But I'm going to keep going anyway. All right, the third hint. This character has been played on the big screen by Matt Salinger and Chris Evans. The fourth hint. This character was played in 2 1979 made-for-TV movies by Reb Brown. And then the fifth and final hint, notable characters who have taken up the mantle of this character along with the original are John Walker, Frank Castle, Bucky Barnes, and Sam Wilson. Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in a drawing for a free tee on next week's episode of the show. Hey everyone, now this month is also Skin Cancer Awareness Month. Now skin cancer is the most common type of cancer, primarily caused by ultraviolet or UV radiation from the sun and tanning beds. When detected early, it's highly treatable. The most effective prevention strategy is daily sun protection, including the use of broad spectrum sunscreen, sun protective clothing, and avoiding sun exposure during peak hours. Skin cancers generally fall under 3 primary categories. Now the first is basal cell carcinoma, or BCC. This is the most common and least aggressive form, making up about 80% of cases. It often appears on sun-exposed skin, like the face and neck, as a pearly bump, red patch, or a sore that bleeds easily and doesn't heal. The second is squamous cell carcinoma, or SCC. Now this accounts for nearly 20% of cases. It typically presents as a firm red nodule, a flat lesion with a scaly, crusty surface, or a rough patch. And then the third is melanoma. This is the least common with fewer than 3% of cases, but the most dangerous and deadliest form. It originates in pigment-producing cells called melanocytes and is more likely to spread to other organs if not caught early. In other words, it becomes metastatic. It's vital to monitor your skin regularly for any new growths or changes to existing moles. For melanoma, dermatologists use the ABCDE guide to spot early warning signs. Now, A is for asymmetry. This is when one half of the mole doesn't match the other half. B is for border. This is when the edges are irregular, scalloped, or poorly defined. C is for color. This is when there's a variation of color within the mole, like shades of brown, black, or tan, or patches of pink, red, or white. D is for diameter. This is when the mole is larger than 6 millimeters, which is about the size of a pencil eraser, though melanomas can be smaller when first detected. And then E is for evolving. This is when the mole is changing in size, shape, color, or elevation. It may also start to itch, hurt, or bleed. Now, if you're watching this and you happen to have beaten skin cancer, you happen to be battling skin cancer, or if you're a family member or a close friend of someone who fought valiantly against skin cancer but is no longer with us, I love y'all, and this mystery pop-up segment is for y'all. Now, this is a Skin Cancer Awareness Comic Hero tee. If you would like one, you can find them on comicheroshop.myshopify.com for $17, and I will donate half of each purchase to the Skin Cancer Foundation. All right, on the first mystery pop-up segment that you saw earlier, you saw 3 of the books that I bought on my last visit to Excalibur Comics. Now, with these, you're going to see some more, and it's in fact, I think it's about 7 of them. And I'm about to reveal what those books are, so here we go. First up is The Amazing Spider-Man number 29. Batman Superman World's Finest number 51. Catwoman number 87. Fantastic Four number 11. Gatchaman number 18. Imperial Guardians number 3. Inglorious X-Force number 5. And finally, Moonstar number 3. All right, with those 7, that brings the total number of comics that I bought since December of 1997 to 14,620. All right, now due to the length of the mystery pop-up segments that you just saw, I'm not going to feature a Throwdown Showdown segment or any question segment. I had a bevy of causes that I raised awareness of this month, but beginning of next week's episode, I'm bringing them back. All right, so with that being said, let's get to the comics I bought this week. Comic books I bought this week. All right, here we go. First up is Mumm-Ra the Ever Living number 2. New Titans number 35. Racer X number 7. Rogue number 5. Sorcerer Supreme number 6. Superman Unlimited number 13. Ultimate Impact Reborn #1. Venom #258. And finally, Wonder Woman #33. All right, with those 10, that brings the total number of comics that I bought since December of 1997 to 14,630. All right, well, I hope y'all enjoyed this week's episode. Here's a question again for a free tee for next week's episode of the show. In the comics, which Avenger is not a founding member? Is it A, Captain America, B, Thor, or C, Iron Man? All right, here's some hints to help. The first hint is that this character made his first appearance in his own book in 1941 and was created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. The second hint, on the front cover of his first issue, he's seen punching Adolf Hitler in the jaw. The third hint, this character has been played on the big screen by Matt Salinger and Chris Evans. The fourth hint, this character was played in 2 1979 made-for-TV movies by Reb Brown. And then the fifth and final hint, notable characters that have taken up the mantle of this character along with the original are John Walker, Frank Castle, Bucky Barnes, and Sam Wilson. Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in a drawing for a free tee on next week's episode of the show. And congratulations to John Burdick from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, who won a free tee on this episode. All right, now this month is Mental Health Awareness Month with emphasis on mental illness. Now, a mental illness is a mental disorder is a wide range of conditions that affect mood, thinking, and behavior. There are 7 common types of mental illnesses. Now, the first is clinical depression. This is a mental health disorder characterized by persistently depressed moods or loss of interest in activities, causing significant impairment in daily life. The next is anxiety. This is a mental health disorder characterized by feelings of worry or fear that are strong enough to interfere with one's daily activities. The next is bipolar disorder. This is a disorder associated with episodes of mood swings ranging from depressive lows to manic highs. And then next is dementia. This isn't a specific disease, but it's rather a general term for the impaired ability to remember, think, or make decisions that interferes with doing everyday activities. And then next is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, also known as ADHD. This is a chronic condition including attention difficulty, hyperactivity, and impulsiveness. And then next is obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD. This is a common chronic and long-lasting disorder in which a person has uncontrollable reoccurring thoughts or obsessions and or behaviors or compulsions that he or she feels the urge to repeat over and over. And then the next is autism, which is also a cause that I raised awareness of last month. This is a serious developmental disorder that impairs the ability to communicate and interact. And then the final one is post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. This is a disorder in which a person has difficulty recovering after experiencing or witnessing a terrifying event. Now, this is often the case with a lot of U.S. veterans, and then servicemen and servicewomen who are still who are currently on tours of duty. But one thing about mental illness and mental health, for a long time it's been something that's been regarded as either taboo or phases. No, they are not. They never have been, they never will be. So if that's your concept of, if that's your concept of mental health, then you need to stop and listen. Please, sir. Please, ma'am. Because this is something that should be taken very seriously. There are a lot of men, women, boys, and girls that are going through any of the 7 common types of mental illnesses, and they go through it, and you know, and instead of passing judgment, you need to listen and you need to ask questions. No, there is no may. You will learn something. All right, this is a mental health awareness comic hero tee. If you would like one, you can find them on comicheroshop.myshopify.com for $17, and I will donate half of each purchase to the National Alliance on Mental Illness. All right, here's the road ahead for the show. On next week's episode, beginning there all the way through the month of August, it's back, folks, the Summer of Superheroes. Now, in the first episode, which I'm doing next week, I'm going to celebrate the 60th anniversary of Black Panther, and I'm going to wear a t-shirt in observance of that, and I'm also going to wear t-shirts of observance of the 85th anniversary of Captain America, the 85th anniversary of Wonder Woman, the 65th anniversary of the Fantastic Four, and then in anticipation of the forthcoming movies, I'm also going to show some love to both Supergirl and Spider-Man. And then in anticipation of the forthcoming TV series that's coming to HBO, I'm going to show some love to Green Lantern. Now you're probably wondering which Green Lantern. All of them. So I'm not just going to, it's not going to be just Hal Jordan. It's not going to be just Guy Gardner. It's not going to be just John Stewart. It's not going to be just Kyle Rayner. It's going to be all of them. And then along the way are going to be other superheroes that I'm going to show some love to. But if there's one that I did not name that you would love to see, please, sir, please, ma'am, let me know. And lastly, I'm going to be a guest at GeekCon. Now, GeekCon is August the 14th through the 16th at the Shreveport Convention Center in downtown Shreveport, Louisiana. Going to be a lot of great vendors and guests there. I'm not going to name them all. I'll name a few. I know Christopher Mintz-Plasse, or aka McLovin, is going to be there. Shannon Elizabeth is going to be there. David Arquette's going to be there. My good friend Roland Paris, who is a comic book artist who's been around for quite a while, is going to be there. And then the Comic Con dad, John Stout, is going to be there. So as Loretta Lynn used to say, y'all come. All right, if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, welcome. And as soon as you're done, go on YouTube and hit subscribe. And if you're watching this on the Louisiana Delta Content Careers Facebook page, welcome. And as soon as you're done, go on YouTube and hit subscribe. All right, I'm Victor Noli on The Comic Hero. I'll see you next week for episode 565, the first episode of Summer of Superheroes. So until then, be safe, be blessed, be a hero, and you matter.